to direct us to how to accept the new generation. Nobody's there. We have to make our own part.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That has a lot of
And
advantages,
the
you know.
generation gap is really different because
Okay.
That
I send the
has
link.
that has a lot of long term advantages because I think just like boy tag, it eventually makes you grow stronger, you know, as you fight forward in the future. You know, so it builds strong
yeah,
people. It means when you grow up without your parents, the first thing is that you are helpless, and you were able to develop some kind of strength.
survivor mentality.
And so you finish them.
Yeah.
You don't finish work. Do you know Tino Foy?
We're live already.
No,
Oh
on your
wow.
life. All
Yeah,
right.
thanks everyone for joining. Today we have Edward Tanko. He's like from the tech space, like a guru. So today, but don't be scared. We will not be so technical. We'll try to be technically not technical, or untechnically technical, if that is a word.
Yeah, they shouldn't. Viewers and followers, don't be scared. I'm part of you. I'm also not a tech person. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be here trying to understand what these magicians, you know, in Africa, maybe they are witchcraft, you know. Maybe you guys are witches. Because they said our forefathers used to have all these technologies and we grew up calling those kind of witches. So I'll let permit me to use this term. So all these guys that you see here, all these witchy people, I deal with now. I go try understand what they talk. I will make them to go break and down. We go understand and we layman they get them. Eh? So and that is my friend. I just met him, Edward Tanko. Edward Tanko is Bele Keys. And if you are Nigerian, Bele Keys, they are like the Igbo version of Cameroon.
Is
You know, and
Is it Bamileke that you're calling Belekis? I said, is it Bamileke that you're calling Belekis?
No, everyone will speak better.
Yeah. Yeah, so I sent you guys a link. Edward, I sent to you. Isaac, I sent to you on Facebook.
Yeah,
Share.
all right.
Yeah, so we often take these first minutes to share so we can have participants. And please, viewers, try to share too. Thank you guys immensely for participating and making this community Topoh spaces a reality. We can't be here if you're not there. Else we'll just make these videos and watch ourselves, and that will be like nothing. So thank you guys. Share as much as you can. Ask questions as much as you can. Today we're talking with Edward. He'll tell us more about himself, but he's into computers. He's one of those people that the chat. I hear that computers have dialects. So a computer is just like computers have their villages. They have their dialects, and then people talk to them in their dialects, and they do stuff like how Facebook, even this thing that we're talking on now, all of those they have dialects. So Edward will be telling us more about it, and from an economic point of view, it's computers and the whole industry is not just interesting because of aesthetic purposes or economic purpose. There's some aesthetics to it. It's almost like writing poetry. When you do something that feels good, it's like writing. Anyway, yeah. So welcome, Isaac. I'm sharing now. Welcome, Edward.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, AD, fine boy, you are a fine boy. You know you're good looking, eh? You come to Nigeria, plenty girls want to marry you. You know.
Yeah.
But before they marry you, you know, I will speak for you. So I will just say, Eddie need to tell us about who Eddie Edward Tanko is. We are very concerned about you know, your early beginnings. You know, Topoh Spaces is basically here to improve, you know, economically, socially in Africa. So we believe that your story would help some people out there, you know, in what they are going through. So please cast your mind back when you were 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20, you know, and take us through that journey of who Edward Tanko has become. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Isaac. Where should I start? Okay.
Start from the beginning, or begin from the start.
Yeah, so I'm Edward Tanko, and my journey to IT is really, I mean, it's a really tough one. Very, very uncertainty on the way. like most Cameroonians, when I was in secondary school, we have multiple dreams. Nobody thought of IT. I personally do not think of ever doing IT before. I was just going with the flow, going with what most people want to become: a doctor, a pilot, or some mechanical engineer, chemical engineer. We have all those dreams, and it is just funny because when you are when you are in the science field, you tend to think uh, of some core sciences like engineering and being a pilot. Sometimes that dream is very, very popular in the Cameroon space. I hardly find somebody who have never dreamt of that. But yeah,
All
those
right.
are so when I came to the high school, and there are two options for most Cameroonians: either you're in the arts or you're in the science. I mean, there are other options like in the commercial field, but that's the most popular options: the arts or in the science. And mostly, we at that time we had just a single engineering school in Cameroon. It was in Yaoundé. So everybody who dreamed to become an engineer at that time was only hoping to pass that entrance exam into the engineering school in Yaoundé. So I was one of those people. So we had multiple encounters with ex-students from the university. We also have friends who have friends who are in that university that we advise us, we mentor us to take that exam. But fortunately, that same year, the government opened another engineering school in the University of Boya. So so at that time it was admission, and you have to have the best GC grades to go there. So it was very competitive at that time. It was not about writing an exam; it was about your performance in the GC. So to spread my risk, I applied in the university to study agriculture at that time, and I also applied to study engineering. So just in case I do not find myself among the best in Cameroon, I will not be frustrated or stranded.
That's
So
right.
I was taken in the agriculture fee, and then we were still waiting for the result in the engineering program, and it was taking time to come out, and people were like, oh, I don't know if it's common in Nigeria. Oh, they're asking for money, for bribe. People are putting names in the list. That's why it's taking too much time and all those things. So there was too many uncertainty. And I never choose to become an engineer. I just say, all right, this is a new thing. Let me try it. So I was lucky and I was there. I was taking. I was so excited, and I never knew what a software engineer is. I never knew anything about programming.
That's right.
Most people don't know that, but I
That's a
never
lot.
knew anything about programming. So I will tell you my first interesting class when I came
Please.
in IT. So when I came, our first class was CEF 201. I will never forget that class. It's very important to me. So the teacher came and he was talking about IT programming. It was C programming in the class. So I was really lost. So some people had idea. They asked who have ever written a program before. People put their hand up, and who knows what is a software and everything. I mean, I had basic knowledge of computing. I use Microsoft. I type something. I play some games, but I never knew that it's people like you and I that can write code to make those things. I used to just mystifying all those technology that some mysterious people somewhere did it.
That's a
But
lot.
and during that class, they were talking about different software, how by the end of that program, we will be one of those people doing those kind of things, writing games, building softwares. And I was really inspired. I said, then this is what I wanted to do. So I like, yes, I want to do this. I want to be this kind of person. It was like an orientation for me when I was already inside. It's not like I was trying to be there, but I was being orientated while I was in the program. So it was really funny. So the next class we were supposed to write our first program, a Hello Web program. and everybody was supposed to write welcome to CF 201 and then zip it and email it to the professor. So you have to zip the source code and email it to the professor. I never wrote that program. I tried hash include std, nothing was going. So one person wrote it in our group and then changed the name to our names and then zip it and then we email it to the professor. So I never wrote it.
Mashallah. The
So
professor
my
can come and
first
punish you now.
program was not in class.
Mm-hmm.
So but that was the driving force. That was the driving force in me because I'm somebody who I don't pick things on the spot. So I instead get inspired on the spot and then go on my own and study. So I'm that kind of a person. You can say I'm an introvert in studying. I hardly ask kind question in class unless it's very necessary. I will ask a question. It's not really a good habit, but that's who I am. uh, I want to I want to make sure I listen more in class and then I practice more at my private time because that's when I really assimilate and understand things when I'm working alone. So I was like that, really quiet in class. I never had, oh yeah, very important. I never had a computer when I came to do computer engineering. I never had a computer. So
Mashallah.
all my friends had computers. All my friends had computers. We would go to their house after study, try to write the HelloWare program. We would try to do it together. We'll make some basic logic, if else, do even numbers, all those basic things. I was using their computers, and sometimes it was very, very inconvenient. So it had to take my father some time to arrange for a computer for me, and luckily he did that. And I was lucky to have a computer. And I used that computer just for 3 months, got bad because it was really, really like fit hand used. It was really, really old computer, really, really old, and it couldn't even do anything serious. So, but after that challenge, I had to struggle with it for a while, try to repair it or change the processor, change stuff. And I never knew that all those difficulties I was going through was like a learning process to me. Sometimes I had no money to repair the computer when the processor is disturbing or the RAM is dead. I will myself open the computer, try to change things inside, or get some spare part from somewhere, buy it, or try to swap stuff. And I
Uh-huh.
was learning as I was doing those things. I was learning some basic, architecture in computing.
Yeah.
And that brings us to when they came to the next semester when we were doing computer architecture, I was familiar with stuff already in computer by that time. I know what is a processor, what is a RAM, what is the function of the CPU, what happens if you take off the RAM and you start your computer. Some basic kind of real experience that I have. So I become very comfortable with the computer. I was comfortable. I was relaxed, and I started grasping things in class really fast, understanding things because I've developed that attitude of liking the computer. So that's how I started learning. I started learning on my own, and I want to really emphasize on learning on your own because most people in Cameroon, we want to think that when we go to class, we go to have a degree, PhD in this or doctor in this, that's when you become very knowledgeable. But degrees to me is not really something that determines how much knowledge you've acquired, but the time you spend in studying that particular field. I have so many friends in class who are really doing very well, having good grades. I mean, all of us were having good grades because we're very smart students who were selected to do the program. But some were doing extremely well. They were like topping all the courses and doing very well. But they found it difficult to write a computer program, right? Because they were studying to pass an exam. But I was the kind of student who was studying because I developed passion in doing it. So during the way, I was like working on my own, having some side project, trying to do stuff, looking at what other people were doing. Friend, I was always
Mm.
in the internet, all the time on YouTube. I have learned more in YouTube than I've ever learned in any classroom.
Mashallah.
Wow.
so
Mashallah.
so I was on YouTube trying to learn stuff. How do you do this? How do you do this? My whole Google search was how to. So I started learning new programming languages. It was very easy for me to learn any programming language after with the passion I had. So among that time, we had a when we like, towards our final year in the university, we had a plan to come up with some company, some startup that will solve real problem in Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
So towards that time, we were really fortunate, my friend and I, to have met one of my life mentor in business, Mr. Boyo. Mr. Boyo he is the president of HIAMS. It's a medical school in Boya. So when we were about to do our internship, because we had known him for a while, somebody who is very interested in tech and solving problems. So we said, all right, we are going to do our internship in your school, but not as a student, but as a grounds to start up something.
All right.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
So we came in a school and we started developing a student management system. We had many prototype of that application. We were learning a lot as we're going. So there are many things we do. We started by, all right, how do we send results with SMS? When result is published, how do we send result? That's when I started having experience in working with hardwares like an
All right.
SMS gateway.
Yeah.
So Mr. Boyo purchased us an SMS gateway. He was really excited. He purchased us an SMS gateway. We installed our machine. We went through the manual in doing it. We went to the SDK. We installed the SDK on our machine, tried to write code to send SMS, and it was working. And then we said, oh, we could use this to send SMS to millions of people in Cameroon. And then we installed it, wrote a simple program, and we started sending SMS to high students for their result. And we noticed that, oh, there was a limitation. You can send a number of SMS a day. We have to, the MTN operator or the Orange operator, they limit you to the amount of SMS you send a day. Most people don't know that. But if you start sending bulk SMS, then you will realize that there is a limit.
Yeah.
So we started discovering so many limitation in the IT, some regulation, and it was a really a learning process for us. So we said, all right, this may not work. And internet penetration at that time in 2013 was not really much in Cameroon. It's speed up for a very short time. It went really up, but at that time it was a bit challenging. So most people we have smartphone, they only use WhatsApp. Nobody use any other app on like WhatsApp. Facebook was the most popular thing people use on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought of doing an app, but we said, all right, people may not use it. So we said, all right, let's scrap this SMS thing and let's start something different. So we started developing a full-fledged student management system from scratch. We started with admission. We started with course registration, and then we went to the university and met the vice chancellor at that time, Professor Naloa Lyunga.
Yeah.
I mean, that was that. Most people don't know this story, but she's a very exceptional person. She is somebody who gives chance or give opportunity to young people, and many people can attest to this because she doesn't go out and say it, but she's that person that gives opportunity until you prove her wrong. So when we came there with the help of Mr. Boyo. He could organize us a meeting with her. When we met her, we present to her our system. She loved it. She said, all right, this is our student. This is the chance to prove to the university that our student can actually develop something and is being used by the university. So she
Mashallah.
said, all right, we should meet the IT manager
Yeah.
of the university and maybe see what we can do and see how we can get requirements of what the university need.
What's
And
his
that was a
name?
very
So that if you effed up, we'll know who to go and bite.
pardon.
No, what's his name? So if he effed up,
Yeah, the
we'll
IT
know who to
manager
go and
at that
bite.
time was Mr.
Mhm.
Haringachu, Mr.
Oh, I know
Haringum.
him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mr. Haringum.
Shout out, Mr. Harry. I know him. Yeah.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Haringum was the IT manager at that time
Mm.
when we met
Also,
Mr.
very
Haring.
open person. I know him. I know him. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
all our parts were like we're meeting the right people.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
and as Mr. Boyo used to say, oh, luck is when the opportunity meets a prepared mind.
Oh wow.
So we were prepared and
Mm.
we had that opportunity, we grab it.
Yeah.
So Mr. Haigun was excited and he said, all right, let's start with course registration for
Yeah.
receipt examination. So we hurriedly did something and it was good and people could apply for receipt. And he said, all right, that this works. Let's do admission. Admission that year, 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
was done on the system.
Oh
And it
wow.
went so well, it was smooth. And with thanks to what was the driving force was the MTN mobile money at that time. That was the time MTN mobile money came online.
Yeah.
Please,
So we were one of
Edward, Eddie, Eddie,
yes, yes.
please, I want to understand something. Are you saying that you guys developed a system whereby the university,
Hmm.
for new intakes of the year, use your system to register new students? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Mashallah.
Where was
Yeah.
this? Where
Mashallah.
That
did this
was in
happen?
2014.
University of Buya?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm coming to other revelation of this story.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Take your
Yeah.
time. We're here
So
to
it was good.
listen.
It was that was my first experience with, I mean, having a real life situation. There
Mm.
was many challenges in the beginning. And the greatest challenge was to able to manage an application where at a particular time, at any particular instance, you will have thousands of students or users on the application. So there were many things to consider. The way you write your code is different. It's not like just writing any kind of code. The way you manage the memory, the way you manage the processes, you began to think about speed and about memory. So those are the kind of things those are experiences. We were just in the university, we left college, and then we thought of doing stuff and started learning from doing. We're learning as we're going. So it was really great. So when we did the admission that year, it was successful, and with the other departments in the university came up to use the system,
Mm.
and it was going well. It was successful thanks to the mobile money payment which we integrated on the system. People could pay their school fees through the system. Even through right now, it's still going, and
Mashallah.
we have been able to break grounds, and we moved from UB. We went to other institutions around Boya, around Cameroon, and University of Bamenda too is using the system
Mm-hmm.
currently, and it's working for them. So that's how I came into IT. And when the project was,
What level were you at that time?
I had graduated at that time.
He was a
So
ninja
the
already.
Yes, so I was graduated at that time. We were not making any serious money at that time. I mean, right now we are still struggling with the finances, but at that time it was like we're not making money at that time because the cost of running this kind of system is really expensive. You just purchase any kind of server, the infrastructure, the things you put is really expensive, and they don't, when you're buying those things, they don't charge you like you're in Cameroon. They charge you like the international market. So you
Yeah.
could purchase for millions in CFA, but it's a couple of $1,000 in the US. So it was finances what was our greatest weakness at that time.
Yeah.
So, but Mr. Boyo had always been the backbone in finance. He has supported us. He put out all the resources, and he was pushing us the company until we established and have a company registered. And I mean, thanks to all the people we meet along the way, things could go smoothly and successfully.
Ryan, this guy is a genius.
Yes, he is. Mashallah.
Where did you get him from?
Mashallah.
I,
Well,
I mean, I mean, I mean,
I
I was
is
mean,
hearing
there
the names.
anything more than is
Okay.
there anything more than your community raising you and you also give back to your community in terms of education with what you are able to do to your university? You know, I mean, I went to Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. I know what it takes when students resume school in
yeah,
new semesters, new
yeah,
sessions,
yeah,
and the kind of queues you need to line up,
exactly.
you know.
Those are the real problem which the system solves,
Yeah,
and it's still
and
solving
how
it today.
yeah, and how some of us even ate our school fees while on the queue. You know,
See,
wise people like
when
you,
I
Isaac.
came to UB, I'd gone to the school at
UB
4:30.
is University of Buya.
Yeah,
Yes, I'd gone to
Thank
the
you.
university at 4:30 a.m. to pay my school fees. At
and
that
it's
time, we
cold.
pay school fees in Bank Atlantic, a bank inside the university. So when you come at 4:30, the line is so long you will not even see the first person. So at
See?
4:30, when places are still dark,
And it's
you
cold.
wait. You wait for about 3 hours to even start seeing the entrance of the bank.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So before you will leave there at about 10 o'clock after coming at 4:30 just to pay your school fees.
We used to go and
So,
pay in
so,
Limbe.
so,
Some
Yeah,
of us
some
used to
people
go
even
pay in
go to
Limbe.
another
Yeah,
town
another
nearby
city.
to pay
Hmm.
their school fee.
That's what I always
you
did.
see?
Go to
Yeah,
Limbe, eat,
So, so,
look at
so
the sea.
so that tells everybody, even our viewers, the degree to which you help solve
yeah,
this problem. This is what every society, this is what is expected of every young man growing up in society,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
as Brian always says on this show, um, um, we are you guys are like you are giving us the end product,
yeah.
right? And now we are clapping for you. Now we like to
We are
know.
clapping for us.
The raw form.
We are
Hello.
clapping for us.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
we are clapping for you very well. You save a lot of people from not eating their school fees.
Yeah.
Some people will line up when they get tired of line up, they'll go and eat their school fees and go and hustle again to come and pay.
Yeah,
So you save that, you save a lot of stress. And when you take so much time to queue, you go back, there is also departmental registration and all of
yeah,
that. It's so tiring,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? So I like to understand the challenges that you face. You have just told us how you did it. What are
Yeah,
those challenges that you face along the road, and
yeah.
how were you able to maneuver, and come up with ideas? Who helped you, and how you were able to defeat and
I
successfully?
mean, yeah. I, yeah, I want to also emphasize this is not like challenges I face personally. These are challenges we face as a team because we're a team. At that time, we're like a team trying to build up the product. My friend Lewis would have been here. Maybe he would have told you a couple of other challenges, but I will tell you that the most important challenge we faced was people accepting us, right? When we came in the university, there had been many trials to do course registration in the university before,
Yeah.
many trials. In fact, the year I came to the university was the year the last trial failed. So I
See,
registered it took me like 3 days just to register my courses online because when I go online, the system will just stop working. And
So we had to
sometimes you
tell.
register, you click, it says successful. You want to download it, you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
So it was really a challenge at that time. So those are the things that were in our heads, but we're studying. We're like a student. We never knew we face or we have the opportunity to solve those problems. But it happened that it came up along the way. But that was the greatest challenge, that people accepting that, oh, a student from the university who we were seeing every day came up with a solution, and the professors, the teachers, the other to accept and use it.
Yeah.
You see,
Mashallah.
we
I can
faced a lot
imagine.
of resistance from different. Before, but now some of them have really they've contributed a lot in making it work. But we face a lot of resistance from different and staffs in the university. Like, oh, these people are students. What can they do? Oh, this thing will not work. Another kind of people don't
yeah,
trust our solution. And then when money start coming in, like we're making payment online, we're charging some payment fee to maybe for some services on the system. So some professors are like, oh, these students are making money, they are taking money from our students and stuff like that, but they fail to understand that those services don't run from the air. I mean, we have people, developers. Most of our developers are also students from the university that we've recruited, and they're working with us. Some of them are partners with us. So we pay the money. They don't graduate to study engineering for free. I mean, we pay them. We buy a lot of infrastructure to run the system. Multiple servers. A single server cannot run a system like that because it's going to crash.
Yeah.
There are services that are running different. different microservices in the background. So you have to have a proper architecture to
Sorry,
support.
sorry. Isaac is there spinning his eyes. He's like probably infrastructure, architecture, services. What do those things mean? Probably.
Oh,
If
okay,
I have to use
yeah.
my magic.
Oh, when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about the servers.
Okay.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
the servers.
Even
We
server,
need
what
to
does that mean?
purchase. We need to purchase servers like remote machines in the internet, right?
Okay.
We have to purchase those high processor machines in the internet. We have
Okay.
to provide some memory, some cache services to
Mm-hmm.
store data. I mean, some of those things were the challenges in the beginning. So finance to run the system,
Yeah.
and given that the university was not paying to use for the application,
Yeah.
we had to have ways to generate income to support the application. You see, we have to have way to support the application, and it has been a
Yeah.
mutual benefit from the university and the company. Like we help the university collect their fee on the platform, and we also help the university make sure that students pay their fee before they register courses. This is a very important problem. I have to tell you, before in the university, you could have a student who will graduate before even remembering to start paying the fee. It's when they will hold the degree that we
Yeah.
are not going to give you your degree until you pay your fee before they start looking for fee.
Yeah.
But
True.
with this system, it stops you from registering any course without paying your fee. You
Yeah.
see, when we put that limit, the university starts seeing, benefits from the system, as well as we also start seeing ways in
Yeah.
which to
Yeah.
provide some services to students and raise enough money to pay the engineers, to have the infrastructure set up, to have the system going.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see. Wow.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks. I mean, that paints a wonderful picture from both like concept when you first conceived the idea or landed in the milieu of trying to train yourself to be
yeah,
a ninja in the computing space up to like some product, some actual product that solved the real problem. And a lot of people, I went through a similar, I would say, alchemy that transmuted me from someone that knew nothing into maybe someone that knows a little about
yeah.
computers today. So I would like to understand your experience from when you first landed, when you saw these languages. You mentioned the Hello World program. What
Yeah.
did you think a computer was at that point, and now what do you think it is? And even things like languages, how do all of those
Yeah.
things fit together until
Yeah.
one could put them together and create systems or infrastructure and all those other fancy words that you use?
Yeah. So so yeah, computer to me at that time, it was something with a screen and a keyboard at that time.
Okay.
That's what I knew. I never knew you could have computers online in the internet and that you can connect to it. I never knew that complexity of how the internet runs.
Okay.
See, I was like, when you have a screen with a keyboard and you install your Microsoft Office
Hmm.
or you install your game or
Yeah.
some software, and that is a computer. The internet is another thing on its
Yeah.
own.
Okay.
So that's how I view the computer. And when we're exposed in class about the software engineering, the network, different network protocols, how is the internet operating, it was like a concept for me. Like, okay, internet, all right. So I used to go to cyber cafe or maybe to Facebook or something else. At that time, Facebook was not really popular in 2010. So
Yeah.
I came to the university in 2010. Facebook was not really a popular thing to me at that time. In fact, I bought my first phone. I thought it was Android, but it was not Android. So
The Chironko.
that's
You
how
ain't
naive
nobody.
I was
You ain't nobody
in
Chironko.
IT. Yeah. So I bought a Chogonko,
Uh-huh.
and the guy said, "Oh, this is a good Android phone. Look at it. You can
Mhm.
install apps. You can install Facebook." I saw
Yeah.
Facebook icon. I saw WhatsApp icon, and I paid my money. And then I came and I was showing my friend that I have an Android phone. They said, "No, that's not Android phone." Okay, they said install an application on it, and I tried to install. They were saying unsupported file format.
Oh.
That's when I knew. Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I have to. That's how naive I was in the whole thing. But
Okay.
it took me a really short while to gain I mean a lot of experience because I was passionate. It was my
Yeah.
passion that was driving me. My passion to try to solve problems
Yeah.
that drove me that all right, I can learn to do this, I can do this on my own. And when I started discovering that I can also study from the internet, I could go to YouTube. As I said earlier, that YouTube has been my best teacher. I go to YouTube and I search how do you write this in that time was PHP that was really striking at that time to me.
Yeah.
How do you do this in PHP? I will see it, or I say, oh, I will install the local XAMPP server. I will try to write some code. I will do a small connection, and I will try to host it online. I did a couple of websites with WordPress. I've used WordPress and
Jumla.
Joomla.
Yeah.
I've used that for a long time.
Yeah.
So, so I did a couple of websites. I hosted it online. It was working. I could go to www dot. I went to it. It worked. I said, "Oh, nice! This is actually how Facebook or Google is how they work." And I was
Yeah.
learning. All right, I learned what is connecting to the internet is. What is a server? How do you manage your server? And I was learning until when I found myself in a position where I need to start solving problem. All this knowledge has been building. It was like preparing me
Mm-hmm.
for what I had to deliver.
Mashallah. Mashallah. And today then, what is a computer to you? Like
Yo,
when you look at the
today,
computer, and what is it to
today,
you?
today, a computer is really difficult to define a computer today because there are different perspective
Okay.
of people or different view or flavor
Mm-hmm.
or
Please let me
of
the
different
simplest one.
understanding of what a computer is.
Yeah.
For me personally, a computer is any device that help you do things easy. It's just like a machine.
Yeah.
That's why most time we call it machine, my machine, my machine.
Yeah.
Anything that helps you do something in the digital space easily is a computer, right?
Mashallah.
So a phone could be a computer. Your smartwatch could be a computer. Anything could be a computer. Even my Google Home here, right here,
Yeah.
is a computer. So, but another perspective, another way people look at it is a computer is what helps you to connect to the internet. They are not still wrong. They are not still wrong. So that's why I said there's a different view of what a computer is to different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mashallah. Yeah, I
And
have
in
my own
terms
view.
of the
You want to know my own view?
yeah, what's the view?
Uh, to me, a computer is my computer, or most computers I use, they're like a clerk. You know, like you have your clerk or your secretary. But
Yeah.
the only thing is that my own clerk is a ninja. So he's a ninja that can do things. Like I can tell
Yeah.
him that, man, go get me this message that Isaac sent to me, and he disappears. You know, ninjas always do like jutsu. He's like, "Pa, pa, pa."
Yeah.
He disappears, and then few seconds later he appears back with the message. But the most
Exactly.
important thing is that he has a dialect, or he
Yep.
understands many dialects, and I can
Dialects.
also teach him some dialects. So if I
Yeah.
can create a language and teach it to him, he will learn it. So I can
Yeah.
use that language to communicate with him. And so in my view, that's how I see it. So whenever I see my computer, I could see a box, but in my the way I envision it is like a ninja that is standing
Yeah.
there. And the reason why I see him as a ninja is because sometimes like there are cases where you want to do many things at once, like play music, watch videos, the
Yeah.
programming, having Zoom. So since ninjas can clone themselves, like they have this jutsu that he makes, that he divides into two. And even that he can divide, so he can divide himself. One of him is playing the video,
Meiosis.
one of him is playing.
Mitosis.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, in my view, that I mostly see my computer like that, or most computers
Yeah.
that I come across. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a nice way to look at it. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
your personal body.
Yes, right. It's my personal buddy.
It's
He's
like
very
what
smart.
Your personal body. Your personal man.
Yeah.
your personal man,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Or a personal man that you can deploy him electronically to do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I have been. I understand. I mean, I've learned from your computer knowledge and your journey. I had wanted plan to ask this question much later in the show, but it's a question I've always wanted to ask anybody from Buya.
Okay.
because I have the impression
uh-huh.
like this is Africa. We're
Mm.
not different. Same situation in Cameroon, same situation in Nigeria, same situation in Mali, Uganda, Ethiopia, and all of that, right? Um, our governments are never there for us,
Mm.
right? They are
Yeah.
never there for us. So I don't know whether Paul Biya is there for you people, but I know that the Nigerian government is not there for us.
Yeah.
So and I seem to get an impression, having met Paul Akama, Otto Akama, Brian, Didi, Churchill, who else again? A couple of guys that I've met, everybody from Buya, and they tell me about the tech industry in Buya. So I am interested to understand still that what gave rise to this tech industry in Buya? Is it the
Mm.
government that provided it for you people?
Mm.
Or is just the people of Buya that
Yeah.
decided to provide it? And if they are the ones that decided to provide it, how did that happen?
Yeah. I mean that's a very good question.
Thank
Uh,
you.
I will give you some history in my perspective because I also came and I met is that at that time was really really very very young industry at that time in Boya. When I came to the university, there were some startup companies in Boya already. Some I mean there were some structured companies
Yeah,
startup in IT.
Wasamundi,
There was
for example.
Wasamundi, yeah, there were Wasamundi, there were
Joku,
they were in Joku, of course.
Fee
And and,
Perfect.
and, and were these indigenous companies,
Yeah. So
indigenous
this,
owned
this
companies?
these are people who went to computer science department in the University of Boya, and and in that department, most of the things they learn was not what they're doing. That department was very naive at that time. They were learning mostly theories. There was no practical, as far as my knowledge is concerned at that time. No practical was there. So when they came up, they started learning on their own. I've listened to a story of most of them, and they were learning on their own. So they came up with Wasamundi. There was the one with Te has the company with Te. What's his name again?
There, which one?
There was there
Zynga,
was
Zynga Systems.
Zynga system. There
Yes,
was Zynga system.
Fuase
The
by Fuase, yeah,
Wasamundi.
Zynga Systems,
So
Joku,
those
Fee
guys were
Perfect.
there. They were
Yeah,
like our forefathers.
yeah.
You see, they set up the grounds
Mm-hmm.
for some of us. So we
And
always
what were
pay.
they doing? What were
So
they doing?
yeah,
What what services were they rendering at that time?
yeah. So Joku was a job search engine. So and then Zynga system has there were so many applications, but one of their most prominent application was the SMSs that they send in. So they were very good in sending SMS notifications. See, Wasamundi was SMS notification. That's what I know them for. And
When you say
then
SMS notification, what does that mean? What were they really
for,
doing?
for, for example, for
How did it
example, you
help
want
people
you
of
want to
Buya?
organize an event in Boya,
Mm.
and you need to notify people by SMS. Yeah, so you go to them and they will provide you that services. You see, they will send SMS to they have a whole bank of contacts of people around Boya and different category of such people. So they will send you SMS to them, informing you about your services and stuff. So that's what I,
Yeah,
I knew them
I will
for.
share my screen shortly. I'm just trying to figure out where it is. But go on.
Okay.
Right. Go on, man. It's your show, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
So
on.
and also the Zynga system, they were known for a student management system for secondary schools.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Tell us
they
what were they doing for the secondary school?
so they were like your report cards for secondary school student could generate their report card and they could
Can you see the screen?
yeah, I can see the screen.
I
They
see.
could
Okay,
they could
Wasamundi.
Yeah, maybe we should start one by each. So this is Wasamundi.
yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, well, let me give more detail. I actually worked with the Wasamundi guys. I don't mean I worked on it, but there was a time when Active Spaces was something called Open Learning. This guy, uh, you had Nara Lawrence, and I forgot the other man. I remember the name, but they had this open learning. They taught us Git. I remember we had an open learning session, and they taught us Git, how Git works. But WhatsApp Mundi is like a CMS, a content management system. It has hotels and businesses, so it helps you find information about some locality. Like
Yeah.
I could be here, I want to eat like a chumbo. Let me see if I can search. So it's a search engine of some sort, and perhaps I
Okay.
can eat a chumbo here at King David Square. So you could
Yeah.
search things and then get it. And yeah, so you see hotels, businesses, you could search, you could choose locations, let's say Douala. Yeah, so this was Samundi. They also had text. They do like text messages. They had systems to send messages around, bulk SMS and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Eddie, Edward. Now
Yes.
I like to understand. Do you think that these startups, as you said that you met,
Yeah.
do you think that they created wealth for Buya and probably Cameroon?
They created more than worth. I think so because they
Please
inspired
explain.
people. They
Hmm.
inspired some of us. So when
Hmm.
at that time it was very difficult for students in the University of Boya to find internship in the IT space. Was you have to go to like MTN and Orange and all those big companies, and that is also very challenging because you have to be competing with other people from the francophone, area. So it was difficult at that time. So in the anglophone space, it was really difficult to have internship. So, but this young startup at that time, they provided us that opportunity to like see that I these people can do it, I can also do it. So they inspire you. You see,
Hmm.
like one of the people who really inspired me in my own startup was the person in Zynga system, Te.
Yeah, force it. Yeah,
Yes,
this
Te.
is in the
So
system.
he was I was seeing him. He was self-taught and he could do it.
Yeah,
I mean, he did it. So I was like, I can also do it too. I can also do this.
So
What these people are.
when you say self-taught, you're saying that these guys taught themselves this
Yeah,
computer.
they actually taught themselves how to write programs.
yeah,
I mean,
Brian,
most
Brian, you tell
engineers,
me.
most developer actually teach themselves how to write programs. You will hardly go to school and like learn everything you need to know there. But school will just give you what you need to know and what is important and what is trendy.
yeah,
That you will have to actually go and teach yourself. But
yeah,
they were challenged because they don't had the opportunity to they never had the opportunity for somebody to tell them that this is what is trending, this is what you need to do. So they built that background for themselves and they went in and they nailed it again by studying how to do those things and create opportunity for other people around us,
that's
inspired
right.
others. So that's why I say they're worth more than money because they actually inspired people, especially the guy with Njoku
Yeah.
is actually an inspiration to many people.
What's his name?
Churchill,
Oh, Churchill.
Yeah, this is Church's company.
Churchill is our friend on Topoh Spaces.
Yeah,
I'm happy that you have mentioned Churchill now.
this is Church's
So
baby.
I mean, he has no option than to come back
Joku.
and also explain to the world his
Yeah,
role,
yeah,
in what he has done to Buya.
yeah.
Um,
Joku is Church's
I
baby,
mean,
Isaac. So
pardon?
Njoku is Church's baby. Njoku is like a job search engine, and it's also like a content. So most of these at the most abstract level are like content management system, but then they manage different kinds of content. So Njoku manages like job offers, but you can create your account. If you're like a job seeker, you can create an account and upload your CV, and then you could get feeds in the form of like job offers, and you can save some, apply and manage your CVs, multiple CVs on the platform. And if you're hiring, you could also do job listings and then manage that whole hiring process. And yeah,
Hmm.
so I think I have my CV there. And Joku, yeah, so this is Joku. A lot of people learned how to program on Joku. I did. I worked on Joku with Churchill and learned a lot about web development from it. So yeah, this is one of those things in Boya that like students learn.
So
You
and you
can't
guys
learn
are
school.
telling me that this guy taught himself most of these things.
Yes, Churchill too taught himself. He never went to the university. When he left high school,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, he went to a computer school, learned how to fix computers, and then started on the internet, just like Edward said. right? You go to the internet, how to create a web page. You read it until you meet a word that you don't know what it means. You also go and search what is that word. You read it until you meet something you don't know. Just like that, you keep
Yeah,
trying
just
and trying.
dedication
Yeah,
and commitment.
yeah. So that's that. Yeah.
Yes, and I like that word, Edward, dedication and commitment. Now, Tino Foy. You know Tino Foy?
Maybe I know him, but I don't know the name.
Okay, Tino Foy is an artist in Cameroon. We've had him on this show, and he said something interesting. Tino Foy said he believes that, I mean, it is a symbolical meaning, right? He believes that if the government of Cameroon stops working, Cameroon will do better. And I also believe that symbolically, symbolically, if the government of Nigeria stop working, the people of Nigeria will do better. And I want to digress my point, if you agree, to say that now we have a situation that, I mean, look at Brian here. To all listeners listening, Brian came from where? He came from what we are talking about today. He came from these self-made people, these people who taught themselves, the computer, who taught themselves programming. And now he works with the World Bank. You know what I'm saying? So that is sufficient credit to that community, Edward. I guess you
Yeah,
agree with me. So
definitely.
now, so now, can we now say that Africans, you know, can even ignore this our corrupt system, you know, and depend on themselves, like what we are did, and create value and create development for themselves?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Uh, I think the aspect of the government, they are really aspect where we expect the government to support us in the IT industry in Boya particularly, but it is also a lack of trust. So the community in Boya, as we speak in the moment, don't really trust that the government can help in any way, because the government in Cameroon for a long time has always had this monopolistic attitude, trying to control every aspect of development. You see, maybe it's for some political reason, but it has come to a point where there is a loss of trust. So the tech industry, especially in the Anglophone region, be it in Boya or anywhere in the Anglophone region, they don't really trust the government anymore in controlling anything. So the only way I think the government can be useful in Cameroon in the tech space is for them to provide to us sustainable internet and a good electricity supply.
Hmm.
That's the only important thing at this moment, because I can say they are useless. I don't want to use the word, but it is
Okay,
what it
you
is.
can use it too.
Yeah,
You
it
can
is
use it.
what
I
it
was
is.
here, you saw my screen. I was here when you saw my screen go dark. You know what that happened? Never took light.
Yeah, so they are
Yeah.
useless, if I can use that word at the moment, because they are not providing anything to support the people in that space.
That
So
is sad.
so most people go to the university, graduate, and go back to the university to teach. That has been like a cycle of things. You see, people graduate and start teaching, graduate and start teaching. Nobody comes up with solution. And when the group of people in the Silicon Mountain, as we call ourselves in Boya, come up with with an organization, try to organize ourselves to support each other, and the only time the government showed up is to control, to
Hmm.
control and
That's a lot.
to make sure that they take the credit and they control and they monopolize the situation. I mean, that already is a already loss of trust. So as I said, the in our government in Cameroon is also very difficult to criticize, because you don't there's nobody you can trust. You cannot criticize this person and say, all right, we have these options, because there are no options anymore. We don't even trust even the people who may even provide us options. So there is complete lack of trust in every way, both from other people, the opposition people, and both from the government. So but what I believe is the world is becoming a global village, as people say, and people can tap. resources from anywhere and develop themselves, right? You must not wait for your government to come and make change. And that's the ideology that's currently in the Silicon Mountain in Boya right now. People are becoming to learn to be independent, to manage the situation on their own, and not hoping for the government anymore. They,
Mashallah.
I tell you, when you pick your phone and you're browsing the internet in Boya, there are things I do. Like currently now, I'm in the United States. There are things I do in my machine. I don't know if I will able to do if I go to Cameroon. Like I work sometimes, and I will just simply do my Docker pull, and that image will pull in my machine in no less than 1 minute. And I take a break for a long time.
Yeah.
And 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 that deprived me from many things. It deprived me from instant learning, because learning is repetitive. You do something and you repeat it again and again, and that's where you learn. But if you're able to just do something once and then you just say, oh, thank God it works, you stick with one knowledge. There's no way to try to maybe test the limit or test the boundaries of that knowledge on every government. If there's anybody in the government that will listen to Topoh Space in any way, the
Yeah.
best way they can help is just provide to us constant internet access, good internet access
Mashallah.
in the people of Boya, and then stay back and watch and see how they will develop themselves. You see, you must not come in to control, to put organization, to put a leader, to
But why is it that you guys were uncomfortable or uncomfortable with the government control? Explain to us.
yeah, because this is they have a track record of not succeeding in many things. See, I don't want to talk me about politics, because in Cameroon
I understand.
there's freedom of speech, but there may not be freedom after speech. So
Yeah, I understand.
yeah,
I
but but
understand you
but it is
perfectly.
what it is. It is what it is. The government is not really doing anything to help.
I mean, I 13 years, and that
Yeah,
project is
that's
going
it.
to
Collapse.
Yeah,
crash,
yeah.
right?
Mountain. You know there's a whole
However,
Yeah,
mountain there.
we
So
have a mountain in Boya, so
okay, all right. So,
yeah,
Brian, I like to ask to give your own side,
yeah.
of how what happened in Buya, you know, has really impacted in you and Edward, especially from your own position, and how you saw that it created wealth in Buya and has also helped you.
Okay, I will probably just tell a story and then we can pull out the lessons or the
Good.
answer from it. So from my point of view, Boya. Oh, sorry. Before I get into that, shout out to a couple of people, Loretta and Tweet. Shout out to you. She's ever present and supportive. Shout out to Lomac. Lomac is putting some interesting comments. Shout out to Songo Apong. So there were some comments. Loretta said, "I have learned a lot on YouTube too." And then Usongo Apong says, "I am a testimony to that story, Mr. Edward. Mr. Edward was my tenant and president of the hostel.
yeah.
Mashallah." And
Shout
then
out to Mr. Afong.
yeah, and then Lomac says those names, and then he says, "Very true, Edward. And I think we need electricity first." Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
with that, I could say what I have to say. So from my own point of view, Isaac, I for a start, I had a similar experience like Edward, but a little bit deeper. I went to Bishop Rogan, so I was exposed to computers, but I used it to play games. So I never knew one could program it. I would see those games, see Microsoft Office and a couple of other applications, and I thought all programs, software applications were built like in the United States. You see. And then when I was in lower sits and for the mathematics class, the professor said, "Take this thing seriously because this is how computer programs are written." And Mr. Tinife Richard, if you're out there, thanks. Shout out to you. So that triggered me. I started wondering, what does he mean? This math, most people don't like math, I think. Math, English, those kinds of things, they always bore people. You
I
see,
don't like
so
maths.
yeah, so so I it kept something in me, and when I was in Boya, the internet was there. I would always go to the cyber cafe and just read about stuff. Wikipedia, start jumping from one page to another, read, just search and read, search and read, search and read, or download in a flash and go to a friend's house who had a computer. When he's in school, I'll be reading. So I got admitted I was the first batch of the Catholic University, and I got admitted there. Had a class to programming. I was very excited. So I read the books, wrote programs. Poluto helped me write my first program. So Poluto now was also part of that network. He was Cisco certified. He was certified to manage computer networks. So just like how people could have their own networks and they could communicate via letters or via emails or text messages, or a network is like a group, right? So Otto was certified to manage a group of computers, and he was certified that way. So I tapped first into his network. He gave me books to read, and then while in the university, I learned very fast. So I started writing my own programs and got bored because most of the programs we wrote were programs that displayed messages on the black screen on the computer. That thing they call the command prompt that on Windows or terminal on like other machines. So we'll write programs there that will say like hello world that will print on it. So we'll learn how to write on it just like how you write on paper. Kids first of all learn how to write ABC or sentences. So as computer programmers, you first of all learn how to take like some screen on the computer and write on top of it. And as time goes on, you start learning how to color it or maybe create a bigger screen and beautify it. So from then, I heard of the word active spaces. So I was wondering what is active spaces, and I realized it was a technology hub. It was somewhere in Boyatown. I don't know if it's still there, but it's a very interesting place to check for those who are interested. So that
What is the
active
name
space,
again? Please say it loud like an African man.
active spaces. So
All
well, it's
right.
called active spaces, and in there, I remember visiting it. I met this guy called Sebastian. He was German, and then there were other people like from America, from France, from other places. And what was happening there is, Active Spaces was a technology incubator. If you had a project, some software you were developing, a business, and you didn't have capital, office space, internet connection, all of those, you would go to Active Spaces and become a member. They would give you resources, teams, space, everything to develop that, and then they'll have a percentage. I think 10 or less than 10%, but they'll give you the resources, help you develop it, train you, connect you with people that you need, and a lot of businesses. So that's what tech incubators do. So just like a baby, right? An incubator to help you grow your business for a stake. So now, when I went to Active Spaces, Sebastian had a software he was building called I forgot the name, but it served as when you go to a cyber cafe, you buy time. That time is keeps counting. When your time expires, it goes off. So Sebastian's program, it was made of a router that had its own custom application that when you connect it to the system, it will ask you for your username and password. And if you put your username and password, it will log you in if you had time. If not, it will tell you to add time. And if you don't have time, you can add time, buy time, things like that. And then you can log on again so long as you're in that network. And the idea was to take that and install on different networks, and then people can be using it maybe in a hostel or somewhere. So that was the first program that so I took over that project. So he gave me that project. I read the source code, read it, and started making little changes. Like maybe adding some functionality. He would ask me to add a functionality, I'll add it. So learned it, added things. I first of all started changing the homepage or the name of the business, or add a new business, so that if I come to your municipality and we call it, let's say, Isaac Abrax Hostel, then that system will work in that system. So if a stranger is passing, they will see, but they could register. So that's how I started learning how to program. It was very exciting. And then there were other businesses there. I remember another one
All this
in
was
Boya.
around University of Buea.
Yes, in Boya in Access Space.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
like 2010. That was like I was in Boya like 2006, and then by 2010, that's when I found that, and I was really surprised, pleasantly surprised, because it's one of those things that you may never know that exists, because it was Boya town towards the mountain, upper farms. So if you're in the university around the university campus, you not really know until someone takes you there. So yeah.
Hmm.
So from my experience, I started learning, and then so I was building that software. I had something. I would go home, make changes. If I had questions, I would ask Sebastian. Sebastian traveled out actually, and then I continued, and then there were other projects. So I started participating in other projects with people, and I remember writing my first code that went to production. That's to the server that actual users could use, and I was afraid. And Edward, I'll ask you later. You're likely to tell us how you felt when you wrote your first
Yeah.
production code. So Isaac, what that means is, there was this software. People, you have MTN, and then you could buy credit by the road. So there was a team there that their own business was you could buy credit without going to a call box. So if you're on the internet, you could just log into that application and buy credit. So the main developer was out, and then I was there. There was a change that needed to be made. So the owner, that's Otto Bisong Biseka, that's Otto's brother. So he came and asked me, "You can code, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Come and make this change." I was afraid because that's something that has actual users. I was afraid, what if I write the code, it doesn't work, the system crashes, it's be on my head. But that was all inside of me. So I thought of that, and then I thought of the other aspect that what if it works? Like it could work too. So I went with what if it works. So I went to him. He explained to me what he wanted. I was like, that's simple. I think needed to sort something or find some record. So I just wrote the simple code, and then he pushed it to the server. We deployed it. It worked. So that boosted my confidence
Yeah. Very
almost
important.
infinitely. Yeah. So that experience, and I started learning from him. You ask other people, what are you working on, they will explain, they will show you what they're doing. So that started opening my mind because it started showing me that these are people building actual applications. And that small experience of me changing that code, pushing it to production, and then also having my own project that I inherited from Sebastian helped a lot. And Sebastian used to program hardware. Like this phone is like hardware. You take a router and then program it and change how it behaves and things like that. So seeing that blew my mind. Those are things that you probably see in a movie, but I saw it live. So it gave me a lot of confidence. And long story short, it's through that experience, I had more people to that I knew that I could ask questions if I didn't know something, and I knew how to use the internet. The internet was there 24/7. So I used to spend the nights there. Like I only go back. Some I used to actually collapse. I think I collapsed like once or twice because like I'll be up 2 3 nights straight. I don't know if that happens to you. They're like I'll be
Yeah.
drinking
There's
reactor.
always hackathon.
Yes, I'll
The-
be drinking reactor energy drink, and then one
yeah.
time maybe when I'm home I just fall, and then so that
Oh,
yeah right. So
Sometimes you even forget to eat.
yes, exactly. No eating, just on the computer. Work.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and then the thing is, you know that the next few minutes you will solve this problem. So you
Yeah.
get stuck. You see another problem. You know the next 5 minutes before you know it's the end of the day, and you're like,
Yeah.
I must finish this today, and then the
Yeah.
next day just like that. Yeah. So meeting this. So now I had the network. I also had the internet that I could use to research, and as the experience kept mounting up, I knew how to search. I knew how to try things out, and that's how I kept going and going and going, and until I could build my own systems. And today, I know that the most important thing is to know what questions to ask. So if I have to build something,
Yeah.
what is it? Just like a journalist, right?
Yeah.
What is this? What does it need? And then you go back to the things. Oh, what is this? What does it need? Just like that, recursively until you can figure it out. So I hope I answered your question, but that's what happened in Boya, that network that actually helped.
yes, and it's very interesting because you guys have said something very similar.
Yeah,
You always have elder ones
yeah,
or people who you met who put you through, and that's very fascinating and very impressive.
yeah.
I want to think that there's a lot of collaboration, you
Yes,
know,
there is.
from taking what you know and giving it to this generation, and this generation passes it down.
Yeah,
Edward, please keep that question in your mind. We'll come to that.
Okay.
I just want to ask. Brian said something about his moment, something, and
yeah, it's
anybody in the world, any human being. I'd
yeah.
like to share your thoughts. Did you, in your journey, have those kind of moments?
Y- my first time to put an application on production was not really something complex. It was a website. Right. So this guy called me and said, "Oh, we need." That was the moment. Am I ready? Those are the things that are going in my head. Am I ready? I said, "Yes, I can do it." He said, "How much?" And I just gave a figure, and he said, "No, it's too much. Can you?" We know we bargain, and then we reach in a final solution. So when he said, "All right, I'm going to do it," I hurriedly that night I did not sleep as he's saying that there are some emotions you develop when you start writing code and you just want to get things done. You don't want to sleep. You just want to see the end. So I went that night. I developed that website using WordPress. I studied WordPress. That was my first WordPress application. I was learning and doing it, and I mean I understand basic in web development. It's not really a programming language, because there's some kind of tweak and changes which you may want to do. You may work some small HTML stuff, which is like some makeup language for the internet. So I do that, and it was looking good. And he said, "All right, let's host it." I'm supposed to buy a domain name and a server. That was my first experience in it. So he said, "Take this money, go and buy domain name and server and host it." I've never done that before. And I went to Te. I remember this story. I went to Te, the CEO of Zynga System. So I told Te that I want to buy a domain name. I want to buy a server. Can you do it for me? He said, "Yes, I can buy it for you." He had a credit card. I never had a credit card or any debit card or whatever card to purchase online. So he did it for me, and I mean, we he did it. I had the space. I waited for 24 hours for the domain name to go around the catching servers, and it was up and running. I hosted the application. He saw it. He said it was good. He gave me my money, and that experience changed my mentality. That process. When I went through that process, I said, "Oh, all right. I could actually be confident enough to deliver something." From there I started going doing websites for people and doing stuff, and I was confident. I was making some side money while I was still a student at that time, and it really boosted my confidence in putting application out there for people to criticize and like, and you know yeah, that was my experience.
That's
That
really,
that is interesting, Brian.
yeah.
Yeah, and Brian,
Yep.
this is Africa, right?
Yep.
Let's talk about the generational change, the support. I mean, if they're wearing guys like Churchill, Sebastian, and the prof that you had in the university, you know,
Yeah.
if they're wearing those guys who were willingly to support you guys, probably you guys will not be where you are today.
Yeah. Very
So
true.
I'd like you to share with me, the kind of support that you got, the kind of love, the kind of, the sharing of knowledge, that goes around, that went around Buya, amongst the people that knew and amongst the people that were learning, that is transforming the situation in Buya.
I think Isaac.
Any of you can start first.
I think
Oh,
Edward should
okay.
start.
All right. So yeah, as I said, like for me, as I said, the person who introduced me to actually make developer, he cannot write programs, but he can actually push you to the limit. He
Oh,
can
good.
actually, sometimes situations makes you to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You see, Mr. Boyo bought an SMS gateway, and he just gave us program this to send SMS. This is the manual. I bought it from Amazon. This is the manual. Read it. The SDK, you can download it online. And SDK is like some tools which you have to use to program the device, any hardware device. So hardware device will come with their tools. So I have to install it and set it up and write the program, and it actually worked. So
That's a lot.
the whole night for days I had not slept to try to do that. I had nobody to teach me. And those devices are not something you can just go on YouTube and you find it anywhere, because some of them are branded. So that from any brand, we have their own different tools and their specifications. So you have to go through the manual, you have to read it, actually understand it. And some of the things the challenging things is not even understanding what you're reading, but even understanding the architecture in general. Like, how is SMS really start from moving from your device to another device? Just understanding that GSM platform,
Yeah.
understanding what happens in the GS, it was a big challenge. And some of those manual will not give you that knowledge. So Mr. Boyo helped me and most of us who were working with him to push us to our limits. You see, and then somebody like Tse was a person that shows us that if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, that kind of figure. So Mr. Boy introduced us to Tse. Tse has been working, has his company, he has been developing stuff. He learned it on his own. I mean, that's to me, that's a very good
Of course.
something
Of
to start.
course.
That
That,
commitment you see from somebody, you'll be like, I want to be like that person. I want to know, put in that effort, put in that work to be like that person too. So it was that figure to us in the beginning when we were starting. And we met so many other people. Somebody like the guy with Joku, Churchill. It was an inspiration to many people. You could go online and search for your job. When I used Joku the first time, I saw like, I mean, this guy actually solved a problem because internship, to look for internship in the university when you leave the university, it's a big problem in Boya. Especially challenging. It's a double problem if you study from Anglophone university and if you are English speaking, because most of the companies and they that will recruit you or that will give you the opportunity to prove yourself are in the French area,
Yeah.
and you will have to like be first of all be bilingual. First of all, you have to understand the culture of the French people, and second of all, you have to move away from your comfort zone to another area to try to break bounds. But where we have companies that were starting up, like in Jinjoku, in Zynga system, and Active Space was a good, opportunity for many people to test their limit. So when we have all this opportunity, it helps to inspire us. Those are the tools that help to stood us up, maybe to see the brighter future ahead of us.
Yeah. Mashallah.
yes, Brian.
And some of the people who actually inspire me personally are as my lecturer. And I will not leave this show without calling his name. Many people know this
Uh,
story already. Mr.
please call his
Harry,
name.
Mr. Harry Damen and
Yeah,
Mr.
Mr.
Harry
Daman.
Ngacho. They
Yeah.
were brothers teaching in the university. So they were teacher, Mr. Harry Damen and Mr. Harry Ngacho. Most people have their impression about their way of teaching, but some people say they don't like the way they teach. No, every student have their. But to me, somebody like Mr. Damen was a really good figure in the IT for me because he was in Russia and he came to Cameroon. I become a teacher, a lecturer, and then he would tell us stories how he developed software, he developed applications and stuff like that. And when you are new in that field, like you want to see somebody which is talking to you physically who have done it. You don't want to go to the internet and I mean, he was there and we see it. We are seeing him, and he will give us opportunity. There are many times he will take us to they have a secondary school in Kumba. So Kumba is a town close to Boya, about 2 hours from Boya. So he will take us to that school. We will set up the infrastructure, the servers, the network, computers. We will connect internet to the offices. We create a network in the school. So when we're doing those things, I was like feeling that, all right, this is me doing my work. This is opportunity given to me to show that I can deliver as an IT person. You see, so all those platform, all those people are really stepping stone in my life, in my career. Those are the people who actually push me, to do stuff.
Mashallah.
Yes, Brian.
Yeah.
And mine is really long. I'll try to summarize because now that I think of it, uh, from the very start, there's this guy, Mr. Michael. Because when I was in the university, first of all studying like sciences, microbiology in the university, but I realized that it was hard for me to like memorize all what is going on. You see, like sometimes you go spend the night in the club. That was way before I started computers, back in like 2006, 2007. So, like, why they will ask you to draw something. I can't because the whole night I was out. You see, so I started thinking, what is it that I can do that even if I'm from the nightclub, I could just come and continue with, yeah. So and I realized I loved video games. So I was thinking, so that's how the first connection with computers came. So I went to this Emotech at UB Junction. So there I studied like hardware, software maintenance, how to maintain those. I was first of all afraid because they had exams. It's just like Cisco. That was a prerequisite to Cisco. After that, you do Cisco. So I was afraid because the passing score was 80. Like it's not, in the regular university it's 50. So
Mm.
it was 80. So I was afraid,
Wow.
but that fear made me to study harder. So I had a routine. It was normally a 6 months course. I think I finished it in like 2 months because you could go at your pace, read it, and then write the exam. So I had 80 like towards the end, not towards the middle, like once. I think I had 180, the rest 100. So then it started boosting my confidence, and Mr. Michael was always there when I had questions. So that was the first person that really pushed me, and he would teach us things and how to develop. How then we're learning how to build a computer, assemble it from scratch. So as I was learning that, and I remember the networking part, how to combine, create a group of computers and allow them to communicate. So he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about that, and then opened my mind. We would also have sessions where we go connect computers in businesses, but I didn't like it. I felt more like a technician, so I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I started reading. I heard of Oracle. I remember one day seeing a job description that said Oracle persons make like £400 a day. So I think that was 2008, 2008, 2009. So I started thinking, interesting. Like £400 a day. That was too much money, man. So then
That's
I
a
was,
lot of money.
yeah. So then I started reading what Oracle is. So it was now Oracle is like software for managing information, a database management software, right? So but very complex. So then I looked around. Cisco was what was really hard in those days. So I looked around and found the programs to study Oracle. I enrolled. The teacher was called Mr. Brian Parfait. So first his name,
I know Mr. Perfect.
yeah. So we had the same name. So I had someone to look up to. So around that area, Mr. Parfait was an academic and a very pragmatic person. He was from the UK, so he had Oracle certifications up to almost the highest levels. He has Cisco certifications, project management. He was a genius. He's a genius, man. Like
Yeah,
you
he
see,
taught
when
me
you have
Oracle
one
too.
person that any certification that you want to hear in the IT field, he has it. He has those books. So he was teaching us. So that was another place where I could go and start learning. He created a school called this academy. What was that? It was the former ADCOM. ADCOM was there in Boya, the Kangaroo IT Academy. Kangaroo IT Academy. That's what he called it. So Paul also was studied there and then started teaching. You see, so and that academy, we had this culture where you come in, you study, and then you get the chance to start teaching. So when you teach, you must learn before
Yeah.
you teach. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that was so then when I studied Oracle, I didn't like it again because it was again like a technician's job because the database will be created and then you have to add records or retrieve the records. So, but I wanted something that was artistic, like I could create things, So I started asking him that, how can I create my own oracle? You see, so I was asking, how can I create my own oracle? So he introduced me to Mr. Damen, Damen that Edo just spoke of. So he introduced me to Mr. Damen, and then he told me a name.
They are connected in many ways.
Yeah. So yeah, they are very good friends actually. So he told me of another guy. So he told me the word software engineering. I read about software engineering. I was interested, registered for the Catholic University, and that's how I became the first batch studying software engineering there. And then went and met Paul. Paul helped me write my first program. So it was after that period that as Paul wrote the program in mine, I remembered my teacher that had told us about mathematics. So I started revising my math, started reading. So my life, I remember during that period, I was passing one day, I saw Fernando Torres around that period after. Fernando Torres was in Chelsea. So man, I said, what is this
Yeah,
guy
Fernando
doing here?
Torres, the footballer.
Yeah. So I said, what is this guy doing here? People were laughing that, where have you been? So just to tell you how that period I was disconnected from the rest of the world. I didn't know what was happening before. I used to watch soccer. Torres had left Liverpool a long time ago, gone to church. I didn't know. So just because like yeah, so that's how my life was changing. And now I got to the Catholic University. The teacher, our main teacher, Mr. Aze, he was from Russia and a francophone from Russia, very strict guy, stern. So and then he taught us C language from the basics. So he gave us the original C books. I just consumed that book like a monster, man. I read it, did all the exercises. I went online, got more exercises, did it. So I became very good at those things. I was surprised that man. First, it was fear. I didn't want to fail. You see, I didn't want to fail, and I also wanted to know it. So I kept consuming resources, doing exercises, and then he had a way of training us. Matrices, I'll never forget it. I got so intimate with the computer because of the exercises and way he taught us. Normally in a test, just like at the start, I used to be the only person who passed. There were like 10 or 11 of us. Then over time, this new student came, Barry Raymond, a wonderful guy. So he was also like very strong. So we're learning together. And I remember Mr. Z taught us how to receive input from the computer, and then he complicated the hell out of it and said, "Okay, let's start working with matrices." So you have to take a matrix in terms of rows and columns. So you take the rows, the columns, you display it as a table. So that exercise was very hard for us at the start, but we did it. Then the next, he taught us matrix multiplication and addition, multiplication, transpose, all those operations that you do on the matrix, like a table of numbers. You start spinning them around. So that was really hard, but I knew it. We did it from scratch. So we did it over and over, and to date, the lessons I learned from that like make me. I just see most programs, no matter how difficult, I just laugh because I remember the matrix and he taught us how to ask questions, break them down, and then get solutions. So from then, I consumed that real quick and got bored again as usual. So when I asked him that man, I thought I want to create my own Microsoft Windows. How do I do it? He started laughing. So he was laughing and saying, "Don't worry," and he said, "Don't worry, the time will come." So now we're teaching you the fundamentals, so you should know how. I asked Mr. Ngachu Damen the same thing. He too laughed, but he's not laughing like belittle. It's just like they were proud actually. So I remember one day I was walking. I was sad, not really sad, deep in thought. I met this guy called Dre Zege Peter. Thanks, Dre. So he said, "What's wrong?" I told him that, man, I'm studying computers, but I'm kind of bored. Like, I want to do something, I don't know. What they've taught me in school is it looks very like small. So he said, "Don't worry. On Sunday, I'll come and get you, and I'll show you to somebody." So that's the day he took me to Churchill. Connected. They're like, "Oh man, you're a rocker and stuff." So then we got to business. And in like 5 minutes, Churchill explained to me the core of engineering using one design pattern. Just like how when people build cities, you have the streets, you have the gutters, or you have a house, then you have the zinc and the drainage system. So he said those two happen in the software development world, that all these patterns, all these ways, techniques for developing those things, that if you learn those, then you can just use them instead of like starting from scratch. So he taught me one called model view controller, where the model is that you'll be keeping your data there. That's where you keep the data. And then the controller is like a traffic police cop. And then the view is the page or what the user sees. So it means that three main things to build in programs. You build the page that the user sees, you build where the data is coming from, then you have a traffic cop that says, okay, this data go to this part of the page. This event or this click or this thing that happened on the page go and affect this data. So when he told me in 5 minutes, my head became big. It's like I understood almost everything about software development just sitting there. So after that, I worked a bit for
Wow.
Njoku, then the active spaces story I told you and stuff like that. And to date, I still use those lessons. So that's how I evolved. Long story short, that's how I evolved around those lessons. I still use them today, and I still read about those details when I have problems to solve. But all of
That's
that happened in Boya.
all of that happened in Boya.
Yeah.
Thank God to Boya. But me, I'm sitting now, I'm looking at you guys. You guys are all in the US, and I'm wondering, brain drain.
It's a journey.
So that's that from my end. So anyway, Isaac, this is Edward's show. Don't make me just steal Edward's thunder. So
Yeah,
so
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. So, how do we take it to the next level, Edward? How do we take? I mean, you. I mean, God bless Buya. You, Topo, Brian, too. God bless Buya. Even me sitting here, Topo spaces because of Buya. So, how does the Silicon Mountain move to the next level? I mean, you guys are in where tech is at the highest level. So how does Silicon Mountain move to that next level?
Yeah, it's already moving. There are other people who are making difference, who are making a difference right now. There are applications, there are solutions that are coming up in Boya. The only challenge we have right now in Boya is the political instability in the Anglophone region. It's not really seen too much in Boya, but from time to time things come up, and on Mondays nobody works in. I mean, very few people, I mean, carry out their activities on Monday in Boya because of the so-called ghost town protests against the government. And also sometimes things the environment may look very politically unstable and people are moving away from Boya to other places. It was the same situation that made me to come to the US. I left Cameroon in 2017, not long ago. So I came to the US. I'm about 3 years now in the US.
I see.
And I'm hoping that if things get better, I go back and concentrate on my company, trying to build it from one block to the other. I'm contributing right
Mm,
now. I'm still working in Boya. I'm in touch with many people in Boya. There are people
good,
also who are also learning from me, and I'm also do
good,
my best to maybe share the knowledge I'm gaining right here with other people, and that's how we keep the industry going.
good, good, Brian.
Oh yeah, sorry. What?
How do we move Silicon Mountain to the next level, man?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, for the most basic uh, community, there's already a community, but I think it should be more proactive. Uh, that's if this crisis should be dissolved. It should be more proactive in terms of like pragmatism. Yes, it's a baby. We have to be learning, and that confidence needs to rise before we really start producing things. But as a community, it should be solving real problems around the community for a start. Just like Edward, they solved the university problem. There are many other problems that, like let's say the active spaces community, for example, wanted to do some street lights. Some like there's this project that they wanted to do hardware programming way to control street lights, the lights to come on automatically, and there's something that I forgot that. But this instability and the guys that really had that idea left. So if the community can continue with those programs and activities that will affect their environment, other cities will hear about it, and other maybe
Mm-hmm,
municipalities will hear about it, and they'll want to support
mm-hmm,
because the local government of Boya was supporting at that time. I think Belamuki and his government, they had this way of supporting those adaptive spaces, and then um, also partnering with schools that has been done already, but just to enforce it. So the community is actually doing what they're doing, but I'm just suggesting how they could keep up and how they could enforce that. Partnering with universities. Normally, during the Google developer events, they used to hold those events in the Catholic University. I remember when Isaac was there, they will have these Google developer groups there and project what is happening in Silicon Valley over there, and then do some Boya. But after that, you don't really have those events. So I think it's good to have local events too, like their own developer. There used to be the developer conference. There used to be developer conferences in Silicon Mountain, but more. Maybe instead of once a year, there should be more activities. Just more activities, like how in church.
People connected.
Yes, the reason why in church a lot of people get spiritual or very active, you see kids learning instruments, learning the Bible in churches because those activities happen over and over and over and over. The communities then meet almost every day, then they have to meet every Sunday and things like that. So if the community can have activities that they do more often, the pragmatism is gonna go up. And I'm saying this from experience because what I learned in Boya or what I could learn in Boya for 3 years while following the events, I could learn here in Washington DC in 1 week. Because like of the events that you go, sometimes we have night owls, these hackathons, or just one discussion, you see a founder will show you how he built something. You
Yeah.
as a tech person just absorbing that knowledge. That's something that will take you 3 years to learn in a degree program, or at the pace that Silicon Mountain went, that will take you 3 years. So that's that. And then yeah, I think from that community, every other thing that is needed will show up, because as developers or tech people, you are trained to solve problems. And you know that when you're solving a problem, you hit a roadblock, and then you try to solve that roadblock immediately, just like that. So if the community is there, they'll face maybe a communication problem, they solve it. And they face a problem with maybe internet, they solve it. They face a problem with distributing software, they solve it, just like that. So that community is just to enforce coming together. So if this political crisis can go down, like Edward said, then I think after enforcing that communityness, if that's a word, then it's going to grow exponentially.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm feeling like we should dive into what that political crisis is. It seems that political crisis is really taking a lot
Yeah.
from the angle
Yeah.
from
I mean, it is taking a lot of businesses, a lot of resources, and people who could make changes are leaving. They're leaving, and the truth is, they are not leaving Cameroon. Most of them are not leaving Cameroon. They are just moving to other places. So it means it's the Boya community that is just losing.
oh my God.
Even in the entertainment industry, most of our artists and musicians have migrated to Douala.
Yeah,
They were in Boya before, but everybody is now in Douala. So
And that
it's
and
really bad.
you know that that is not too good.
Yeah,
People leave with their expertise, go and congest in one place,
yeah,
and they leave a lot of people helpless, you know. And that is when poverty comes in, and that is when crisis, that is when
yeah,
insecurity comes in.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I think that at some point, Brian, we have to converge here again and talk
yeah,
about the political situation,
yeah,
because as much as we talk about what is going on in Buya, and we don't really look at what is the political situation that is hindering, I mean,
yeah,
the natural growth of tech in Buya.
yeah,
I mean, it's like we are leaving a lot of things out.
yeah. Very true.
Yes.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we have comments? People want to say hi to, want to ask
Oh yes.
Edward questions or
No
comment even?
questions for now, but there is a comment from Mr. Gilbert Hammond. He says, "Very good initiative. Despite of my poor English, I would like to join you people." So
Good.
yeah, and thanks, Hammond. So yeah, I was telling him that we'll be honored to host him. We could have his own episode too, or he can join us now if he wants. And we can also get a
Yes.
translator. He's an author, a politician, a leader, yeah, a lot administrator. So it will be honored to host him, to have his own episode where we can tap from his wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edward, we've spoken for some time now. Brian,
yeah,
almost are we more than an hour? One
Let me
hour 30 minutes.
let me count. Sorry, let me see if I was counting. But
So
go on.
it's left for Edward. Edward, me and Brian, we can talk from here to morning.
Yes.
You know, um,
yeah,
it's because it's about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock here, and 8:20 here in Nigeria. Um, this political situation, this political situation in Cameroon, you know, what
yeah,
is Cameroon? What are
yeah.
we going to do about it?
Uh, it's really challenging to talk about politics in Cameroon because there are so many spheres in the political area in Cameroon, and one of the things most youths will agree with me, I believe, is that we've had a leader for too long, same leader for too long. I grew up knowing just him as president. I'm sure the same thing with my brother, yeah, but
Like the Pope.
uh, there is a need for change.
Mhm.
Somehow, I don't know what magic is gonna take place for that to happen, but I think the government knows that. Some people in the government, they know that. The people talk about it everywhere. So, but I believe that it's just about personal interests, and some people are profiting from what is happening. That is beginning to hinder the situation. But there is a need for change, and everybody knows. It's just how we are going to do it is a problem.
I mean, that's the first step already. That everybody is desirous of change. Everybody's aware
Yeah,
about change. That's the first step already. So and that means that let me use the Nigerian context. We've had our own fair share of presidents who come and they say we'll do 4 years. We had a head of state that did 8 years. We had a president who wanted to adjust the constitution, who they say wanted to adjust the constitution and go for a third term against our constitution. I mean, the political people here, they think that Nigerians are people that they can just cow. But as much as people are desirous of it, people are beginning to talk of it. I believe that it's going to happen sooner than later than
Yeah.
the politicians think.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue talking about it in Topoh spaces.
Okay.
And I want to say here that anybody who is not satisfied in any country that you are, if you are listening to us, come, let's make noise about it. We're going to continue to garner the yeah, man.
Mashallah.
We are going to continue to gather the energy wherever it's going to come from, to make sure that our African leaders hear what we are saying and either they make the change or we kick them out because we
Thank you.
can't be quiet for too long. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
bro.
very much for the opportunity. I just want to give some shout out to some people.
Yeah,
Go
please.
Yeah,
ahead, man.
Yeah,
yeah.
please
So
do.
I want to give some shout out to my Go Groups team back in Cameroon. I mean, they are doing a great job. I mean, when I was there, we are all working together physically, but now we are working remotely for almost 3 years plus
Mashallah.
now. So give some shout out to Frank, to Dengon, to Clarkson, Noel, Nooks, and all the other guys in the office. Guys, we are together and we hopefully I will come back on ground so that we continue doing the amazing job we've been doing.
How
Mashallah.
about your family members? Have you forgotten them? You're talking more than forgetting your family members.
My family members are fine. I'm from calling them even before the show.
Oh, wow, mashallah.
Good, good,
We call them all the
good.
time during weekends. But
Yeah,
I'm
nice.
really missing Cameroon. I'm missing the achu, the fufu ahero, the pufish,
Oh, yeah, Poofish, that's
kati.
another one. Yeah, Ketsi, yeah. Mhm.
Uh,
Nice.
all right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks very
Yeah,
much.
thanks. Actually, we're really honored to host you here because one of the things that if you look at economies today, you look at the world today, uh, they say nothing is new under the sun. So things could either change your form, like as a human being, if you're under the sun for a while, you probably become darker. So the same way times things are not new, but they may change form. Before
Yeah.
we had gold, now they say data is the new gold or data is the new oil, and societies are changing that way. Now you have in the software world, things like Amazon, Facebook, they call them federations because you can, like Facebook, you can log in, you have your own Facebook name. It's not different from you having a Facebook ID card. So they
Yeah.
call them federations. So yeah, so now, Edward, like before round up, I would like you to tell us a little bit about how we can boost use this idea of data, use this idea of technology to advance our country. Because now it's not like our
Yeah.
leaders don't want growth. We all want growth, but the
Yeah.
challenges affect us in different ways. There are some people that when they're tensed, they freeze. Some people collapse. Some people and when they're tense, they maybe start eating sugar or start eating something that affects their health, or it could be during exams. Like when you're tense, you start doing things that are not right. So it's not necessarily that that's how you're wired to. It's not your. It may not be your primary objective. So I think the same with leaders and those that are in positions of power. Sometimes you have good intentions, but perhaps access to good teams, access to knowledge or state of the art knowledge, they may get frozen and they don't know what to do, and then they do things that
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you think are the sectors that we as a people, we as a continent that is advancing should focus on, especially technologically, so we can advance, and how can we do that?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. I think technologically, Africa need to focus on developing services that meet our own interests, our own
Okay.
needs.
Okay.
So for some time now, we've been consuming a lot of, foreign services. They are
Yeah.
good, but
Uh-huh.
some of them are not tuned to our specific need.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Like if you're in Boya, right,
Yeah.
you want to locate a particular address.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very big problem.
Yeah.
Addressing. We're talking before back to one of our WhatsApp group on how do I identify areas in Boya. For example, I need to go and eat my achu or my achombo somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
somebody tells me that, oh, I say achombo. How can I have an app or something that will specifically locate me to places around?
Yeah.
Like if addressing is an issue. You in the US you have proper addressing. Houses are addressed.
Yeah.
If I give you my address, you can just put it on your app and you drive right there to my place.
Yeah.
Straightforward. You know you don't ask for anybody. You don't have to make phone call or where are you or where should I stop or direct me some popular place to meet you. We don't have those problem here. But in Cameroon, if we can have proper addressing, like in places I can address it, there are many services that will spawn up from that. Like there
Okay.
will be
Mm.
services like you can have applications to deliver
Yeah.
your food
Yeah.
item. You can have application to like Uber
Yeah.
to pick it up. You can have applications to like I mean to drive around like Google Map can work properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those services we need to properly know how to identify addresses places. That's one challenge most application developer like myself face. Well, there have been so many times we want to come up with applications to solve real problems in Cameroon, but we get caught in this web. How
Okay.
do we address places,
Yeah.
right? How do we if somebody sits in the room and he wants to refill the gas, my gas just got finished, I need to refill my gas and I need to buy the gas here in Cameroon, buy gas in the bottle, in the gas bottle.
Yeah.
How do I, is there an application I can just simply go online and I request and somebody deliver a gas bottle in my house, even anytime that my gas gets finished? You see, that's a solution, that real problem that we never come from outside to solve.
Yeah.
Those are solutions that Cameroonians themselves have to provide. But the main challenge in providing that solution is not to develop the app. Everybody, I mean, any good developer in our space can develop a good app like that.
Yeah.
The challenge is, how do I first of all develop address? How do I make sure that I purchase online and that person knows exactly where I am and
Yeah.
come right away and deliver my product? Another
Absolutely.
challenge is, how do I trust you that when I pay you my money, you're going to deliver my service, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's that emblems of trust in most of the developed country because they have been working on online services for a while. They have developed trust in. We have to create a platform for trust and also create a platform that can enable us to grow with our services. Yeah, so those are the challenges that I mean IT people needs to solve, but we can't solve it. It is difficult to solve it because of those infrastructure is not yet placed
Yeah.
to solve solution.
And
Yeah.
it may be interesting to note that the whole science behind plotting CDs and mapping them now will use mostly a metric system. Like,
Hmm.
like that's why in places like DC you would have 18th S Street, you have 14th and U Street.
Yeah.
That's because you have
Yeah.
rows and columns.
Columns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have the numbers. I think the columns are numbered, the rows are lettered,
Yeah.
or the one of them. So,
Yeah.
but
They're
that
in
I
streets. Yeah.
yes,
Street and
and then the points now on that, so it's like a table and then
yeah.
rows and columns and then the addresses at those points. If you go
Yeah.
back, that technology actually hails from Egypt. France is very good in cartography and these other things. Napoleon, remember Napoleon when he took power, the first thing he did, or one of the first things he did, he went to Egypt, and that's where he broke the nose of the Sphinx that is there in Egypt. So they took over almost 3,000, if I'm not mistaken, or thousands of research papers, and both in science, and then they got translators and they translated it, and from there they learned. One of the first things that was translated, one of the lessons they learned from that whole exploitation is planning, and
Okay.
from there, so you see that it's something that is part of our DNA. That's something that is we already know.
No.
Something,
Yeah.
yeah. And the world now is global. We can always just look at those.
Yeah.
We can always just
And we.
study those and then plan our cities,
Yeah.
and we'll be able to do
Yeah.
it.
The,
And
the
again,
challenge is
yeah,
we have what we call quarters,
yes,
not streets,
yes, right,
right? We have quarters,
yeah,
not like So it's difficult. It's difficult to like. There may be some serious redefining of what street is and what quarter is. But to me, I'm not seeing like a challenge. I'm just seeing like come up with another solution, right?
Okay, I
If
see.
that's how we our community is arranged, this is our plan. Now we stick with it. Everybody knows that if I say quarter one, if I'm in Mutengene and I say quarter one, everybody knows where quarter one is. The
Yeah,
problem is, where do I know if Mr. John house is after Mami Mary's house in quarter one?
you're
That's
right.
the only challenge,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If we can come up with a solution that can able to map our own with our own current solution, our current placement of our houses and for our way, the way we develop our we plan our cities or our towns.
yeah,
If we can come up with such solutions, then we'll be fine.
yeah,
I mean, that's a challenge which we need to tap into IT to solve that problem. We must not change our or destroy people's houses to make streets if they have built before there and stuff
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, well, that's that from my end. Thanks, Edward. Is there anything you like to say to those who are listening before we split?
If those who are listening that are from the tech, I would encourage them to maybe keep on doing what they're doing best and try to solve local problems. Don't develop to try to solve problem from outside. Even though most of our industries are being supported by projects coming from outside, like some of the outsourcing projects and people working remotely from Cameroon,
Yeah,
they bring in some finances to the country is good, but we should also try to solve local problems because that's the only way we move forward. Nobody will come from outside to solve our problems. Nobody will come to better plan our streets or our quarters, and nobody will come to better deliver our services that can help people uh, do things around. I can sit in my apartment here and order Uber, eat, and my food get delivered. That's something really nice I find here.
yeah,
But we have those services back home, but the complication in getting them is too much. You just rather you just walk to where you want to go and buy your stuff.
yeah,
Because sometimes you will call somebody and you will have to put on some airtime credit to trace where you are and all those things. And also in our parks, if you go to take a car, you want to go from one town to the other.
yeah,
There could be solutions where you just book for your journey. I mean, and our companies are looking, our startups are looking at solutions like that. I can assure you that. But the challenge that is there is that we don't have some basic infrastructure that can basically address giving static addresses to places around. And those kind of infrastructure requires a lot of finance to do, and most of our startups don't have that money.
okay.
Yeah,
Mashallah, I see. Yeah. All right, thanks, Edward. Thank you very much. It was an honor hosting you, and
thank
to
you.
me, it was an experience going back to memories lane, seeing how I
Yeah, really
myself
good
got
experience.
stuck
Yeah,
on
it's a
this
long
thing
way.
called
I
IT.
believe there's
Yeah.
still more. There's
Yes,
still
there is
more
more. Yeah,
coming.
there is. Just note too that this is the first of a countless number of episodes that we'll be having. Feel free to reach out to us too whenever you have something to say. Like today, we didn't
Yeah,
get into the technical aspects, but we'd like to grow
yeah,
this space into something that people can come and learn from. So,
yeah.
when you have time, I would also reach out. We could come and organize technical sessions where you could show us, let's say, how programs are built, what kinds of tools that people need, and stuff like that.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And also they can check out my blog.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good.
So
Yeah, so
e
Yeah,
let me
tell
show
us,
that.
tell us.
Yeah, let
Try
me
and
show that.
pull it
so
out.
EDDYTNK. So you can check out my blog. I have interesting articles
Yeah,
that are written on my blog.
edzytnk.com.
.com.
Yeah,
So in my blog, everything you see written there is authentic.
yeah,
There's
let me show
nothing
that.
copied from somewhere, and it's authentic knowledge that built from ground up. Sometimes I take days to put up my articles.
Yeah,
Take days to write those articles and prepare them. So the authentic articles which I'm putting them in order. And if you're reading from the start to the end, you will notice that they are in series.
yeah.
But I'm no longer calling them series one, series two, series three. But
Okay.
eventually I'm gonna make a like a template of different places you can navigate to. But I'm still
Okay.
building up.
Yeah,
in
wow. So this is Edward.
Yeah.
To those watching, this is Edward side. Edward that we're talking, we hosted for this episode, and this is his platform. You could come there to learn about technologies. He's broken them down for you. All what you need is the attention span to follow through, and he'll be able to guide you. So it's almost like you touring a city. Maybe you went to Boya for the first time, and then there's a city guard that is going to show you here's the park, here's a restaurant. So Edward will
All
be
right.
as your guide and guard as you're touring these technologies. So let me look at the favorite, the one my favorite. Let me see my favorite topic here. Git. I love Git. So for example, this is Git. When people are writing, those that are authors, when you're writing like books or painting, you always have versions: version 1, version 2, version 3. So Git is something that helps and manages versions so people can collaborate and you can time travel on the work. So you could go like maybe you want to see what you wrote the 31st of December 2018. You have a way to just go and then you can contribute to the main final product and others can get it. So it's good for collaboration. So Edward is taking his time here to show you how to use Git. So this is a cool thing. A bulk of the software developer's life is about using Git because you may be working with people in India, people in Greece, people from everywhere. So this software helps them collaborate. So thanks, Edward. This is the site, eddytnk.com. So yeah, it is. You can reach out. This is our Cameroonian brother. Let us put out this platform for us. Thanks, Edward. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys. Have
bro,
a nice
for
day.
coming.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so thanks. You too have a
Yeah.
nice one. Like we said, don't hesitate to contact us if you
Sure.
have when you have something to say. Feel free to come
Definitely.
here. We'll open the gates for you, and we'll be
Sure.
glad to
Thanks.
host you. Yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Isaac.
bro.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Edward. Now good day.
Yeah, thank everyone for listening. And who have come to the end of this. Feel free to reach out. Or even if you want to request a guest, you have someone you like us to talk with or host, and let us know, and we'll try to get them, put them here. Thank you, everyone. Thanks Opahaman. Thanks Lomac. Thanks Isaac. Thanks Loretta. Thanks everyone.
Loretta, you have to come on this show.
Yes.
Every of our show, you will comment. Loretta, where are you? I want to talk
Yeah.
to you. Please come
Yes,
on our
sir.
show and come and say hello.
Yeah. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Isaac, see you on the other side. Yeah,
All right,
bye.
man. Cheers.